Welcome back to what's become a weekly ritual, the In the Money Players podcast for Saturday night at Sam Houston Race Park. Our friends down in Houston, a sponsor this year, and obviously it's a little cross promotion for me, I will admit, being the track announcer at Sam Houston Race Park, also a member of the In the Money media team and another member of our team at Sam Houston Race Park. And we're going to call her a member of our In the Money media team, is Jessica Paquette, is here to talk about that in sequence with me. What's going on, my friend?
You know, it's another cold Friday here in Massachusetts. Looking forward to getting back to some warm weather in Texas soon.
Yeah, the warm weather is here. It is going to be 80 tomorrow and Sunday, and the rain has departed for a bit. So, yeah, I think you're going to get real spring weather for us, which is warm when you come back in a couple of weeks. I'm sure you're not at all upset about that.
Perfect. That sounds great to me.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at this pick six sequence, which begins in race number 4. It's a 9-race card tomorrow night at Sam Houston. We actually have a 10-race card tonight. We're taping this on Friday. And it begins at 7 furlongs on the main track with Texas-bred $7,500 maiden claimers. These are races that I feel like are made for you. You got to be a little creative. We're not dealing with a lot of good form here.
And I'm not really getting that creative here. I think this is kind of a race of attrition. Like, which one do you dislike the least? Like Sport Coat or Bodie Heath? Both have kind of proven to be not exactly the most legitimate horse at this point, but I have a hard time taking Sport Coat with as many tries as he's had to get the job done. I think he's going to be a little bit overbet. Bodie Heath, he's getting a little bit further class relief. First try at this level, beaten as the favorite last time out, but I'll give him one more chance, one more, and then I'm done with him.
Yeah, I actually ended up picking 10K, and it was mainly because I don't like. This is such an ugly drop on Sport Coat. I mean, if there are intermediate levels,
a pass for me.
Yeah, that you could go to 50, you could go to 15, but I mean, Asmussen is going right to the bottom.
There's a red flashing for sale sign on this horse in the paddock,
and somebody will take this horse for 7,500. I can almost guarantee it. And I mean, he's done no running. He's been bet. He's mainly been bet because of his connections, not because of anything that he did on the racetrack. And I just, he might end up being better, and he might end up being able to run a 33 buyer speed figure, which is probably what it'll take. But I know 10K can. And I think the cutback is interesting. I think he's probably better around the one turn. Rock kind of got out and just cruised on the front end last time, and I think that worked against him. But Bodie Heath had dead aim on Moral America turning for home and lost ground through the stretch. I thought it was just a really pitiful performance. Now, that being said, he can definitely win, and he does look like the controlling speed on paper. So I think for pick six purposes, since that's the purpose of the exercise, I would probably end up using 10K and Bodie Heath as A's. I would leave it at that. If Sport Coat ends up winning, I think I'd be happy to move on to the pick 5.
This is one of those races. Let's get through it and move on to the next one.
I think that's the best approach by far. Let's get to that next one, which is at a mile on turf. We're at 30 feet on the turf course for one more week. Just at the end of this racing week, we're going to take the rail down to 18, and then it'll be at 18 for 2 weeks and 0 for the last 3 weeks of the meet, provided we get the right kind of weather situation. This is an interesting turf race because, I have to admit, and I think Mindy Willis is a terrific horseman, I was really, really surprised that she entered Big Bernie back on the turf. And I feel like it might be more of a positive than negative, because I think when you pick apart the race this horse ran last time out, it actually was a lot better than it looks. That was a really forced pace. Mm-hmm. He ended up running right into the teeth of it from the start. The leader kind of ran off a little bit early. It was a horse named Dare to Be Wild, who we talked about last week, who came back and nearly won an off the turf race on Saturday night. And now Big Bernie looks like the lone speed by a mile. I still think that his best performances are probably going to come on dirt, but I'm at least a little intrigued pace scenario wise.
Mindy Willis always gets some attention from me on the turf. I think she's very, very sharp, but this is an interesting race. This is one of those races I do think you can go a little bit deep. Number 4, Bruce Lee, A+ name, by the way. Just a terrific name. It made me laugh. He's clearly a different horse on the turf, did everything right last time out. The thing I like most about him is he's an April foal. You have to think this is a horse who has not grown into himself all the way yet. Ernesto Valdez Jimenez, wildly underrated on this turf course. It seems like every time I see an upset winner on the turf, he's aboard. Another horse I do like, and this is pedigree play only, that is number 6, Manor-Born, Noble Mission out of a street cry mare, kind of a cool female family. Street line kind of goes all the way back to Serena's sister, full sister to Serena's song. So ample turf in this horse's pedigree. showed very little in the debut, but you have to think maybe that switch to the turf, second start, a lot of room to improve. Another horse I'm putting on my ticket is number 5, Plenty of Sense. Scott Young is just on fire. This horse doesn't, he needs to do better. The surface switch is interesting, but I'll go with Scott Young here.
Yeah, and no, I understand it. I mean, based on what we've seen in recent weeks, I think one of the things I have to do before this race is somehow get a hold of Ryan Shad Wilson and find out if that is supposed to be Manorborn as the normal pronunciation of that word, or if this is a Texas name with a nod towards the city outside of Austin, the home of Manor Downs. And I called this horse Manorborn last time out, figuring that was the case. So little announcer.
I'm a New Englander.
That looks like Manor, right? Yeah.
Though Bernie got me last year. I had it was Chris who had to correct me and be like, "That's a place in Texas, you idiot." And I was like, "It's not like the Bernadette, like the Bernadette thing."
Yeah. Well, there was one also that was actually racing festival weekend, and the horse's name is spelled Bosque. And I called the horse Bosque first time out.
Like one would.
Like one would, exactly. And then our mutual friend Pat Cummings told me, I think that's the name of a city on the way to Waco from Dallas. And it sure is. And it's pronounced Bosque. So
you have no excuse. You're from Texas.
That's the truth. Yeah, I'm from Southeast Texas. So where things make a little bit more sense. But moving on to the third leg, race number 6 is a one other than allowance race on the main track at 6 furlongs. I thought this was an interesting field, and I'd love to hear what you have to say.
I think this is a really deep, contentious group. I went with number 9, Shanghai's Dream. Kind of interesting, potentially a big price. I mean, whoever does the morning line, man, I'd love to get that sort of price on this horse. He has some tactical speed. I think he gets a really honest.
What price did I make this horse?
I think there'll be a pretty sharp opening pace here, right? I don't think this horse got everything his way last time out, and he ran okay. I think he gets a better pace setup.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. No, I probably put a little much into the quality of the race he ran last time, being that he was on top of a slow pace and Hewlin outfinished him pretty clearly. I picked Oliver, who I thought came back off the bench for Sean Davis and ran really well. And hats off to Sean Davis, who's quietly had a really good meet. Veteran horseman who's had his first year at Sam Houston. He actually trained Popular Kid, who finished third in the Razorback, looked for a second down the stretch like he might win at 42-1. He's had him training at Sam Houston, and we've seen a lot of horses run better for Sean Davis than they were expected to odds-wise. And I think Oliver was one of them. I thought his comeback race was very good. I think Have a Plan, who wired that field for Scott Young, is a really solid horse. And I'm thinking Oliver is a horse that'll probably be a little bit farther back, second off the layoff. I think they may have tried to get him involved a little early. I think Jose Alvarez sensed that pace was on the slower side as well. I also included Druzano for trainer Lon Briley, who has had a limited number of starters at this meet, but has 3 wins. 2 of them came from the same horse, Big Power Red. He also won a race with Drew Power. And Druzano comes off a good effort at Delta, I thought, should be in stock and pounce range. I'm going to have to get better information on how the Delta shippers are running overall, because obviously their meet ends tomorrow, or it ends on Saturday. And so we're going to see quite a few more of them over the course of the next month or so before Evangeline. And Druzano looks like one who can also be in that kind of stock and pounce range early in what could be a fast-paced race.
I think this is one of the deepest, most interesting races on the card for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's go on to race number 7, which is back on the turf at a mile again on the Connolly Turf Course. This was a deep and competitive race to me as well. And I ended up picking number 5, Jubella. I'm riding that Robertino Diodoro off the layoff train that got the win the other night with Keep the Bling. He's much better with turf routers off long layoffs than basically anything else. And I thought Jubella's last race before she went to the sidelines was a little dull. Guessing afterwards something happened. That's why she's been away from the races for, roughly 8 months. And I think she gets a really good trip here pace-wise. I don't sense that there's going to be a lot of pace on in here at all. And I feel like Stewart can put her probably just off of, but I will say that you're from the Miss Blue on a Tahitian Breeze is the other one that I would use prominently in any kind of multi-race play.
Sure. And I loved her last time at 38-1. I wish I could get that again on her. I felt very clever when she ran so well last time at such a big price. I have maintained since last season, this is a horse whose best efforts will be on the turf. She seems to have really grown into herself. I also like it a bit of a price is number 2, Gastown. She's quietly just been so consistent. 2 good efforts behind a very nice runner, and Daddy Made Me Do It. Just missed second last time out. And the thing I like about her most is she had that second win just in November, so she's not really stuck in this non-winners of 3 lifetime condition yet.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to do with the horses out of the Daddy Made Me Do It race, because I felt like it was a little bit on the moderate side in terms of quality. I think this is a better one but I do think Endless Romance and Gastown both ran fine. I think they were completely pace compromised too. Being stuck
Sure.
behind Daddy Made Me Do It, setting really moderate fractions. So interested to see how those two perform. Endless Romance has really come to hand well since she got to Sam Houston for this meet. The 8th race is back on the dirt, a 3 life allowance race that I think is going to feature a pretty heavy favorite in Feel the Fear. Did you land there, or are you looking for alternatives?
Yeah, I think he looks pretty tough here. The Gustafson barn certainly heating up a little bit too. This horse has done very little wrong from a handful of starts. Austin has a bunch of these honor codes that he keeps sprinting, and I keep saying that I think they want to go long or go on the turf, and they keep winning sprinting. So just keep sprinting them. Why not? It's working. I do want to use number 4, Pinky Ring Bling. This is a real class test for him. We'll see if he can run against real open company. But he's just so consistent. I don't know if he's good enough to win against this group, but Ronnie Cravens does really spot them. He puts them where they can be competitive. What do you do with Sam's Time? This is a horse who I don't want to leave off of a ticket because I don't want him to beat me, but I don't love him.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Feel the Fear was clearly the one to beat. Sam's Time is probably the horse who's going to get bet that I'm most inclined to toss altogether. And I say that because he really didn't take a step forward in his first.
I hated his last race.
And then last time at Delta, he was bad. I mean, I thought in mid-stretch of that January 20th race that he was going to win by 3. And then, I thought for a second, was Rye kind of wrapping up on him? And no, he was hard ridden to the finish. He just doesn't have a great deal of stamina. And that's going to be a problem, I think, when push comes to shove. I thought the interesting horse potentially at a price dial in Loot as an alternative to, not necessarily as an alternative to Feel the Fear, maybe more comes in off a mile race, shortening up in distance. He'll be able to settle and make one run. Why not? He'll be a bit of a price.
Why not?
Let's go to the nightcap, which is going to be back on the turf. And you want to talk about creativity? This race requires a little bit of creativity. I will admit, I'm going to show the replay of the 8th race on February 9th when Trey Styles and I do SHRP time. I actually showed this replay last night too, because it featured the eventual winner of last night's nightcap, King Congo. Moro Savage was not exactly in the midst of a move. He was kind of angling out when there was some serious traffic right between the 3/16 and the quarter poles, and he ended up getting floated out to the parking lot. And so his race ended right then. He at least has that running line on September 14th at Louisiana Downs that you can point to and say, okay, if he runs that, he'll win. And nobody else in here has that.
No, this is a little bit of darts, right? So I'm going with Fearless Prince. I like his speed. I think if that translates to the turf, he might wind up being alone on the front end and could take it. But that's just a matter of if he takes to the turf. I think pedigree-wise, you can make a case. That's sure. Why not? But lone speed on this turf course, I think, can put you in a good position.
Yeah, I agree. There's not a great deal of turf pedigree, but again, I mean, it's a Texas bred pedigree, so these horses are bred to run on dirt. And so I don't feel any issue with that. I do think his runner-up finish behind Stan's home run was perfectly fine. And again, you allude to the potential pace advantage, which I think he does have. I also think Vince Lawyer will be a little bit forwardly placed as well. You want to talk about a horse that's been frustrating. I mean, 0 for 13. It's hard to take these types in these kind of scenarios. Yeah, he does have pedigree. I mean, the Dam was a 3-time winner on turf. She dropped 1 turf winner, but I have been in the camp of when Asmussen puts them on turf, there's nothing left. And I think that generally in terms of handicap speak, if you will, that's the approach. So if he claims a horse and they've been on turf and he keeps running them on turf, that's fine. But this is a horse that, I mean, this is basically Steve saying, I don't think this horse can win on dirt.
Right. At a certain point, you have to kind of try every option and hope something sticks.
Yeah, this is a horse he claimed, of course, for 7,500 for himself. And I mean, he's made enough money to get out, but this is the only opportunity he really has to end up winning a race. That's the Sam Houston pick 6 sequence for Saturday night. Jessica, anything else you're looking forward to on this card?
It's just a really solid card. I think this is a fun way to spend a Saturday night. Try to take down the pick 6. Why not?
Especially if you're snowed in or if you're not able to walk around outside. We'll have plenty of people outside at the facility. Of course, we have a lot of exciting things going on track in terms of camel and ostrich racing on the 11th and 12th of March. We have wiener dog racing on the 19th. And as I've been reminding everybody, we also run horses. And on March 26th, we're going to have Texas Champions Day. So hopefully people.
Now that I'm excited about.
No question. In fact, the slightly earlier post that night too, 5:55 p.m. for Texas Champions Day. Also the NHC qualifier which and you can qualify for that on horsetourneys.com. So a lot of exciting things coming up at Sam Houston Race Park. Thanks, Jessica, for joining me. I'll talk to you soon. That's it for another edition of the In the Money Players podcast, Sam Houston Race Park Pick 6 edition. Until next time, best of luck.
All right, good stuff.
Is my internet bad, Craig?
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Shit. I blacked out a couple times, and this is the best connection here usually. I should just do this from home, but yeah.